In the dark, untamed wilderness of early 19th century America, survival was a daily struggle. Pioneers battled disease, harsh winters, and wild predators. But in 1817, one wealthy family in Tennessee encountered a predator they could not shoot, outrun, or understand. It was an invisible, malicious force that terrorized their home, physically assaulted their children, and eventually achieved something no other ghost in American history has ever been officially documented doing. It committed murder. Welcome back to Echoes of the Past USA. Today, we journey into the shadows of the American frontier to unravel a terrifying true story that even caught the attention of a future United States president. Grab a lantern and lock your doors, because we are diving deep into the chilling mystery of the Bell Witch. Was this a genuine demonic entity, a brilliant and cruel hoax, or a localized case of mass hysteria? Let's uncover the truth. The nightmare began in the summer of 1817 in a small farming community called Red River, known today as Adams, Tennessee. John Bell was a prominent, respected farmer and elder at the local Baptist church. He lived on a sprawling 320-acre farm with his wife, Lucy, and their children. Life was peaceful until John was inspecting his cornfields one humid afternoon. Walking through the tall stalks, John spotted a bizarre creature. It had the body of a dog but the head of a rabbit. Startled, John raised his musket and fired. The creature vanished into thin air. A few days later, John's son, Drury, saw a massive, strange bird perched on a fence, which flew off and disappeared before his eyes. Finally, his daughter, Betsy, reported seeing a girl in a green dress swinging from the branch of a large oak tree. But when she approached, the girl dissolved into the mist. The Bell family tried to ignore these omens, brushing them off as tricks of the light. But the entity was done hiding outside. It was ready to come indoors. By late autumn, the strange occurrences moved inside the Bell cabin. It started quietly, a faint scratching on the exterior logs, like a large rat clawing at the wood. But soon, the noises escalated. The family began hearing the distinct sound of heavy iron chains being dragged across the wooden floorboards, followed by the terrifying sound of stones being dropped onto the roof. When John and his sons ran outside with lanterns to catch the pranksters, they found the yard completely empty. The snow around the house was untouched. There were no footprints. Soon, the entity grew bolder. The family would lie awake in absolute terror as they heard the sickening sound of something choking and gasping for air right beside their beds. Covers were violently ripped off the sleeping children. John Bell, a proud and stubborn man, swore his family to secrecy. He did not want the community to think they were crazy, but the entity was feeding on their fear, and it was about to get physical. The physical attacks focused primarily on two people, John Bell and his youngest daughter, Betsy. Invisible hands would slap Betsy across the face, leaving vicious red welts on her cheeks. Her hair was pulled so hard she would be dragged screaming across the floor. Realizing he could no longer fight this alone, John finally confessed to his neighbor, James Johnston. Johnston and his wife stayed the night at the Bell cabin to witness the horror for themselves. That very night, Johnston's covers were yanked off his bed. He sat up in the dark and shouted, "In the name of the Lord, who are you and what do you want?" For the first time, the entity responded. It didn't speak with a normal human voice. It was described as a disembodied, airy whisper that echoed from the corners of the room. Soon, the voice grew louder, perfectly mimicking different people. It declared itself a spirit, stating it was everywhere, in the heavens, in the earth, and in the very walls of the cabin. Word of the haunting spread like wildfire across the American South. People traveled from hundreds of miles away to hear the spirit speak. The entity was incredibly intelligent and loved an audience. It would sing hymns, quote scripture perfectly, and even gossip about the sins of the locals, revealing secrets it couldn't possibly know. When asked for its name, the voice gave several answers, but eventually claimed to be the spirit of a woman named Kate Batts. Kate Batts was a local woman who had a bitter business dispute with John Bell over the purchase of some enslaved people and land. On her deathbed, Kate had supposedly sworn to haunt John Bell to his grave. From that day on, The entity was known simply as Kate. Kate had one primary goal: the total destruction of John Bell, whom she referred to as Old Jack. She tormented his body, causing his tongue to swell so severely he couldn't eat or speak, and causing him agonizing facial tics and seizures. The legend of the bell, which became so famous that it reached the ears of Major General Andrew Jackson in Nashville, the man who would later become the 7th President of the United States. In 1819, Jackson, known for his fearlessness, gathered a team of men and a witch slayer armed with a silver bullet and rode toward the Bell farm. As Jackson's carriage approached the property line, the horses suddenly froze. The wheels locked up. Despite the men whipping the horses and pushing the carriage, it wouldn't budge an inch. Suddenly, a sharp, metallic female voice echoed from the surrounding woods, cackling, "All right, General, let the wagon move on. I will see you tonight." Instantly, the horses lunged forward. That night, Jackson's witch slayer stood up and threatened to shoot the witch. Invisible hands grabbed the man by the throat, threw him across the room, and dragged him out the front door by his nose. Jackson's men were so terrified they begged to leave. The future president allegedly said, "I'd rather fight the entire British army than deal with the Bell Witch," and his party fled the farm the very next morning. By the winter of 1820, the witch's relentless torment had completely broken John Bell. He was bedridden, suffering from bizarre, undiagnosed nervous tics and violent seizures. On the morning of December 19th, John failed to wake from a deep stupor. When his son went to give him his medicine, he found that the doctor's vial had been replaced with a strange, dark liquid. Suddenly, Kate's voice echoed through the bedroom with wicked glee. "I gave old Jack a big dose of that last night, which fixed him." To test the liquid, a drop was given to the family cat. The animal convulsed and died instantly. John Bell passed away the next day. The witch had won, but her cruelty didn't end there. During John Bell's funeral, as family and friends gathered to bury him in the freezing ground, the disembodied voice of the witch could be heard loudly singing joyful drinking songs, laughing over the prayers of the pastor. Following the death of John Bell, the haunting drastically decreased. In 1821, Kate announced to the family that she was leaving, but promised to return in 7 years. True to her word, she returned briefly in 1828 to visit John Bell Jr., allegedly telling him secrets about the past and future, including the coming of the American Civil War. Then she vanished into the history books. Today, the Bell Witch Cave, located on the edge of the original farm in Adams, Tennessee, is considered one of the most haunted places in America. Visitors report strange voices, failing cameras, and overwhelming feelings of dread. Was the Bell Witch a true demon from hell? Was it a massive hoax perpetrated by someone in the family using ventriloquism to get rid of John Bell? Or is it a legend exaggerated by time? Whatever the truth is, it remains the only case in United States history where a supernatural entity was officially blamed for the death of a human being. Let us know what you think happened in the comments below. Stay curious, stay brave, and we'll see you next time on Echoes of the Past USA.